Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is set to testify in the landmark social media addiction case on Wednesday. It's going to be interesting. Former federal prosecutor Andrew Cherkasky is with me now. And Andrew, what can we expect to hear from Zuckerberg in this trial? Clearly, he's going to say, not true. We've done everything we can to mitigate this kind of problem. Is that what you're expecting?
Well, I think every personal injury attorney in America is trying to turn social media into the next tobacco lawsuit type of situation.
Right.
But it's not that simple. Tobacco, which was determined to effectively have no safe usage, social media is different. And I think that we're going to see a lot of the division of the ways in which social media is actually quite a safe product and is something that is socially very valuable to have. There are some problems that have arisen, particularly with people that have mental health illnesses or people who are particularly young who get themselves stuck in kind of some of these traps of content or the doom scrolling where it just goes on infinitely. And so I think Mark Zuckerberg's going to have to explain some of why those tools are not inherently causing these mental health problems, but it's really the people and the lives that they've led that are causing those issues.
But their business model, is it not built on getting someone to the platform and then creating algorithms that keeps them engaged for as long as possible?
Certainly. Well, if you look, though, at even TV, you know, TV has Judge Judy on all night long, or those infomercials all night long. And it happens to be people oftentimes who are kind of in those more depressed places who are watching TV until 3 or 4 in the morning. Should they be able to return all those products that they bought in those sad places in the middle of the night, perhaps? But I think when you really look at social media, certainly there are traps and there are problems with some of the content being so outrageous that it's unreasonable for the platforms to have not taken that down immediately or reorchestrated that. I think that we're going to see this trial very deep into the details of some of those technicalities about how it works.
Very quickly, do the big tech companies, are they going to, well, Meta in particular, are they going to be found liable? What say you?
This is going to be an interesting jury in Los Angeles. I mean, I don't know where they come out, but I think that Meta long-term has the, Meta has the long-term, I think, advantage in this. It's not going to be the next tobacco.
Okay. Thank you for that. Next one for you. A mistrial was just declared in the case of the pro-Palestinian protesters who were arrested for breaking into and vandalizing the president of Stanford University's office. Andrew, does this mean those protesters get away with it? Do they refile? It's a mistrial. I guess they could refile.
So it's a hung jury, and the prosecutor's already indicated that he's going to take this back to trial relatively quickly. And so it'll be a new jury sitting fresh again. Santa Clara County is interesting. I actually did a jury trial out there last summer. It's a very liberal, very upscale type of area. So you get an interesting mix of jurors. And I think that when you have a university in this beautiful area, whether the locals kind of take that as something that they're going to protect from a liberal leftist perspective, or whether they see their community getting destroyed. And then, of course, we've got some of the just deep politics involved there. So I think it's very tough to get a 12-person jury in that area that's going to all come back with a unanimous verdict.
There's a lot of interesting things going on. I have to leave it there. But Andrew, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We do too. Thank you.